The Shelton Metropolitan Park District meeting is called to order. If anyone attending the meeting here in the council chambers would like to borrow some amplifying headphones, let us know. Ready? All right, Donna, would you do roll call, please?
I will. I'll give Mr. Bode just 1 second to sit down. Board Member Bode,
Here.
Board Member Sherman. Here. President Gutierrez.
Here.
Board Member Inesco.
Here.
Board Member Schmidt.
Here.
Board Clerk McDowell. Here. And Board Member Peterson.
Here.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
All right, part B of our meeting is the consent agenda. Has everyone reviewed the consent agenda?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as published?
I move to accept the consent agenda as published.
Second.
And second, Ms. Moore, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Then motion carries. Part C is our business agenda, and there are no business agenda items this evening. However, we will be moving on to part D, the action agenda, so we must recess the special meeting to open a public hearing. And we have Finance Director Mike Gibbon information about us for the 2024 budget.
Thank you, Board President, members of the Park Board. We're bringing you the second reading of the 2024 Shelton Metropolitan Park District budget this evening. There has been one change, and that is in the estimated expenses for the fiscal year 2024 for the Park District. It was our taking a look at what the costs for the Park District would be increasing slightly, as well as we received 2 pickup trucks between the time the first hearing happened and the second one that we were able to budget that expenditure for. You'll also hear this repeated a bit when we talk about the city's budget because the two are somewhat connected. We're budgeting the Park District though in fiscal year 2024 because we pay the city back for the park services in that first quarter of 2024. So that is the increase. It's again, let me just restate, it's for receiving the 2 new pickup trucks that had been budgeted over some time and some increased costs for the operation of the Park District. We're showing it in the 2024 budget for SMPD because that's when SMPD will pay for its expenses that it incurred in the fourth quarter of 2023. Other than that, there are no changes to the budget presentation we have.
Thank you very much. Donna, do we have anyone signed up for public testimony?
No, we don't, Mr. President.
All right, can I ask for a reading of resolution for SMPD 38-0923?
Resolution number SMPD 38-0923. A resolution of the Shelton Metropolitan Park District adopting the budget for the year ending December 31st, 2024.
Do I have a motion?
I move to adopt the 2024 budget resolution as presented.
Second.
And second, Mr. Mayor. Do we have any questions or comments on the council? We have a motion and a second to adopt the 2024 budget resolution as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. And we are going to go to part 2. Oh, public hearing is closed, and we're going to open another public hearing for part 2. And that is information about the ad valorem taxes.
Yes, thank you. We received numbers from the county assessor, and so we're able to present you tonight the ad valorem property tax ordinance. This budgets for the 1% increase plus new construction and add-ons, which I want to point out represents a dollar increase of $9,518.35. That's spread across all property owners, commercial and residential in the city of Shelton. So that's what that 1% represents. And this is asking you as the board to certify the property tax levy for collections in 2024.
Mike, Donna, does anyone sign up for public testimony?
No, there isn't, Mr. President.
May I have a reading of resolution number SMPD 39-0923?
Resolution number SMPD 39-0923. A resolution of the Shelton Metropolitan Park District of Shelton, Washington, setting the amount of the annual ad valorem taxes for calendar year 2024.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve resolution number SMPD 39-0923 as presented.
Second.
Are there any comments on the board? We have a motion and a second to approve resolution SMPD 39-0923 as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. This public hearing is closed and we will resume the special meeting. All right. Administration report. Jordan, you have an administration report to share.
Make it brief, just a couple things. The North Cliff property, we have finally got that surplus with the neighboring owner. Just finished up some final documentations, but it has been paid for to the city. So that has been pretty much taken care of. And then for the North Cliff playground installation, still December 9th. Right now we have about 20 volunteers. So we're gonna get ready to move forward with that. And then for the next SMPD, I'm gonna have a presentation for you guys, take some photos and give you a little update on how that went. And any questions?
Any
Do you
questions
think
on
that
the board?
20 volunteers is gonna be enough?
Ideally, yes, and that's not including city staff and
Alright.
our advisory committee, so I think. They have until next week to let me know. I know we have a couple people, we might get the football team involved, so I'm still waiting to hear back from them on if they're gonna help or not.
Send them to you if they want to volunteer.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Let's see. Donna, is anyone interested in public comment?
No, we don't, Mr. President.
All right, so we're going to move on to part G, the announcement of the next meeting, which is actually going to be canceled because there's no business to conduct. And then we'll meet again at 2024 sometime. This meeting is adjourned at 5:52 PM.
All right. I'm done.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of November 21st, 2023. If anyone attending this meeting needs amplified headphones, please raise your hand and we'll bring those to you. We have a few housekeeping issues and we'll get to the main event that you're all here for. Let's all rise for the pledge of allegiance, please.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Donna, can you do a roll call, please?
I will. Councilmember Bode,
Here.
Councilmember Sherman,
Still here?
Councilmember Gutierrez,
Here.
Marinesco,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schmidt,
Here.
Councilmember McDowell,
Present.
and Councilmember Peterson.
Here.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Does the council have any late changes to the agenda? City manager? No.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Does council have any board reports to share? Right. Has everyone reviewed the items in the consent agenda? Is there a motion?
I move to accept.
That's published.
I second it.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have several presentations this evening. Our first swearing in of our police chief and our police captain. Please step down.
You're done.
Start with the chief. All right, repeat after me. Everybody, got their cameras going.
Oh, yeah.
Ready?
We're on it.
Right hand.
Raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Chris Goffstead,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I support the Constitution of the United States
that I support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and I will abide by the Code of Ethics of the City of Shelton Police Department.
and I will abide by the Code of Ethics of the Shelton Police Department,
And I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of police chief for the City of Shelton.
discharge the duties as police chief for the city of Shelton.
We also have a new captain. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I
I,
state your name.
Daniel Beck,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and I will abide by the Code of Ethics of the Shelton Police Department,
and I will abide by the Code of Ethics of the Shelton Police Department,
and I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of police captain for the city of Shelton.
discharge the duties of the position of police captain for the city of Shelton.
Perfect. All right. Manager, want to make a few comments?
You know, it's an exciting night for our city, chief and captain, as they've spent a number of years here at the, City of Shelton Police Department. I can't wait to, witness the great things they're gonna bring to our community and work side by side with these individuals. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Council?
Yes. Council have any comments or questions?
We're excited.
Yep, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you for keeping us safe and for all your hard work and all the excellent things you bring in the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I do have to say, this room feels extremely safe tonight.
Yeah.
Do we need another photo op at all, or
Does anybody want photos?
individuals, or? I don't know. You guys are
Some
forever
people
late.
do.
If You're pictured together. Okay, terrific.
Good.
All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Gentlemen.
We appreciate you.
Exactly right. If I get this question about-
Oh.
You guys
You're
have
not staying
now.
Yeah, well.
Oh.
Are we signing the?
Yeah,
Do you want to run now?
that's fine. We can do it later. Certificates,
They're over there for them
they
to
need to be
find.
signed by,
I told them I'm gonna catch them tomorrow.
yeah, we'll catch them later.
You know where to find them.
Yep.
Yeah. Business meeting.
You got lonely?
Yeah. It's gonna get cold in here now.
It's like, it's super safe here. Thanks, guys.
We still got fire chief.
Oh, so if it starts to burn, we're good. All right.
All right.
Ready to go, Mr. Mayor.
So now we have a presentation from the Laura Watson Sears from our Schoolhouse Rocks.
I'm Laura and I help run PNW Raised Events. Throughout the year, we put on about 5 different fundraisers that we do for local charities. The last one was Schoolhouse Rocks. It was in September, and that money we donated to the Shelton School District. The total cost of the event was around $9,000. And we were awarded $3,500. That money that we used for radio, like KO, KJR, and KMAS. Print, we used Journal, and we also hung flyers around Mason County, Thurston County, and Grace Harbor County. And a portion was used towards social media and spreading the word that way. The total attendance was a little bit more than what we expected, with a good portion of the attendees that came from either out of town or out of state. We were able to determine that from online ticket sales. By doing an informal survey, we estimated that there was at least 10 people that paid for local lodging. These events play a pivotal role in supporting noble causes. They don't only raise funds, but it also cultivates a sense of shared purpose and encouraging community members to contribute and towards a positive change. I just want to thank you for your time and let you know that it was a successful event.
Comments or questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Now we have a presentation from Christmastown Marketing and Events from Rachel Hansen.
I got some stuff for you guys if you want to read it later. I'm gonna put it right here next to
Great,
Mark.
thank you.
He loves stuff. So I understand I'm presenting on two different items. The first one, I believe, is the murals, right? No, I start with Christmastown first? Okay. So Christmastown, 2022, we had over 15,000 people came. We had, we can figure that out because we have lots of reservations online with the wagon rides. The event has been going since 2019 when we started with the Guinness World Record Maze, where we were successfully did it, and during the Christmastown Parade. And since then, we did in 2022, we did it down at Mel's Lot, and then in 2021, we had the Christmas Maze as well as the market over here at the Civic Center. Every year, the website, the traction, and the number of guests has increased. And we have managed to make Shelton one of the top 10 Christmas destinations in Washington, which is exciting. And this year, I actually got a phone call from Fodder magazine. So they're doing a story on Christmas destinations across the United States, which I hope we get included in. They were very excited about the story. It's kind of a nice story when you think of the heritage that we have from so long ago, and then bringing back Santa Claus that had been up since 1964. So there's that connection between generations. And then there's also the connection with our timber heritage, which really ties into well with tourism. In 2022, we saw about a 20% increase in lodging tax revenues during what I consider the revenue period that would reflect our winter sales. So going into late December, January, February, and then comparing that to the 2021 numbers, we were up about 20%. And our website went up about 50%, which was kind of exciting. We had over 35,000 people just come in that 3-month period to visit the website. And then we can look at, we did a lot of QR codes, which is my big key thing right now, because I can really kind of pinpoint where people are going. And we pretty much represented, it was just amazing. We had people from New York, Pennsylvania, and a lot of people were traveling to Seattle and made a day trip out here. And because we had so many evening events and it just looked prettier at night, we had a lot of people that stayed in the area. So I would consider it a success. And we're looking forward to a very successful Christmastown in 2023. We have incredible support. And last year, the city awarded us $12,000. We spent roughly $36,000 on Christmastown because we do everything for free at the event. And then we have entertainment and we make sure we pay our entertainers and pay for everything. But we also got a lot of community support, which made up the difference. And then we were also charging for things like the wagon rides. We did do a lot of free stuff, but there were like brief workshops and things, and we put that back into the event itself. So thank you very much for the city support, and we look forward to a wonderful Christmastown this year. And thank you for your support again. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Okay.
And now you are on to Overlook Park.
Okay. So this one's kind of a hard one too. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. There's a couple of murals up on the hill and Overlook Park. It started off with Santa Claus again in 2018. 2019, the city awarded us a permanent location for Santa Claus. And then after that, it progressed where someone said we'd like to see Paul Bunyan. So it's all been done with donated labor, donated funds, donated wood. And with the support of the city to basically all that the grant goes towards is putting up the lifts up and down. So everybody is volunteer that comes and puts those up. We now have 4 rotating murals. It's kind of hard to talk about how many heads and beds they put because that's very difficult. But I did pull up the WASDOT numbers for 2022, and we had about 15,000 cars, and all of them stopped because of Santa Claus and the murals. It is, I think, good for the community because we also get a lot of anticipation when we see these murals go up. People kind of wonder about when the events are coming, and I do know that people care because they really get upset when I don't take them down. So. And Santa Claus just went up last week, thanks to John and the Kiwanis volunteers and my son Zach, and he'll be going down in January, and then Paul will go up. So, any questions about those at all?
Thank you for all your hard work with all this stuff.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
All right. For last presentation, it's not as fun. Finance Director Mike.
Wait. With that kind of a bill. Are you just tired of budget?
Just about over.
I'm not tired. Okay. So the September monthly financial report, I think just to spend a little bit of time, but you're hearing a lot of budget information, I know. We continue to have more information to base our estimates on, so I think what we're able to show you gets more accurate. We're able to see a little bit better where we're at. We're budgeting with an eye towards sustaining the city into the future, and I think that's the message we want to keep relaying to council, staff, the public, that we're really not looking at just this fiscal year or next, but beyond that, so that we're not in a position where we found ourselves earlier this year. You'll notice, I didn't ask for the report to be brought up because you have it it's in the packet, it's available online. We're estimating some ending fund balance. As you know, there are many deferred maintenance projects and purchases that the city had, so we can come back to council in the future for some of those expenditures, but we're budgeted with our reserve in mind. None of us knows what the future of the economy holds, so I think we're well planned and well budgeted in that regard. The revenue for the general fund, and you'll find it on page 2, is coming in positively, other than some of the known places where we had estimated that we would not fully collect on. B&O tax being one of them. Of course, I'm sitting here with you in November, and so I have even more knowledge. Property taxes came in as budgeted. You can see on there, we're estimating sales tax to be a little bit above budget. And I think a lot of that's largely due partly to prices being a bit more, so the tax you're paying on things is more, but also the events we have in town undoubtedly bring more people in, which is good for the overall economy of the city. On the top of page 7, we're estimating to end the fiscal year in a good position across all of the funds. I spend a little bit of time each month on the FTE. And so at the bottom of page 7, we have 6 vacancies. Again, this is at the end of 2023, up at the end of September of 2023. We have 6 vacancies in the general fund as of September 30th and 10 vacancies overall across all city funds. This changes a bit. If you were to ask us where it is today, it's a little bit different, but we're trying to use this data not only to really gauge kind of where we're saving money, but as city manager Ziegler and I were just talking yesterday, you know, some of this savings we're now seeing is because we reduced costs in this budget. It took some time to realize that, but we reduced positions. Some people were laid off. We're doing without some positions to try to make sure that we can sustain the budget going into the future. And in particular, I'm talking about the general fund. And so that's just kind of the highlight there. On page 11, I wanted to bring this up simply because next month we're going to be bringing you a supplemental budget to the 2023 budget to clean up some of the places we need to. And an example of this is here. The solid waste fund shows estimated revenue and expenditures that are higher than budget. And you know about this. I know it was for the C Street landfill cleanup. We had more revenue, which was good in the form of the Department of Ecology grant. And consequently, our expenses were more. So we need to clean that up. And so we'll talk more about that next month, but I bring that to your attention as you look at that budget for the overall funds. So I'll end there with kind of where we stand, but everything's looking positive. You can also see on that page 11, we're estimating all of our funds to end in a positive, which is where we want to see it.
Any comments or questions?
10 vacancies, we're not actively recruiting for all those 10 vacancies, correct?
Not for all of them. We are for a couple of them, but many of them are on hold.
Hold and strong on that. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for the hard work and city manager for the hard work and getting this back in the even or the black, I guess.
Yes.
All right, so if there's no other questions, we're gonna move on to our business agenda, and city manager has information for us about a public defense contract.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. Tonight I'm bringing to you the first look at a new contract for indigent defense, in the municipal court. Sound Defenders has at least the principal of Sound Defenders, Mr. Tasher, has been working for the city since 2008. They changed their name subsequently, so now it's Sound Defenders rather than Tasher and Associates. So the city's had a long working relationship with Mr. Tasher for indigent defense within municipal court. We have had a couple contract revisions over the last several years. And as we approach 2024, we thought it best to essentially start over with a new contract and maybe capture all of those revisions that have been done over previous years, get them in one document. Part of those revisions are more accurately referencing the case count that Mr. Tashner would see through municipal court. That's estimated to be 360 cases per year at a rate of $348 per case. Mr. Tashner always, as well, he provides in custody hearings on a monthly basis. So that's somebody that might be booked into jail for whatever reason, appears within the courtroom or the video conference room at the jail and does the preliminary hearing for those individuals. And that rate is at $2,500 per month. So we have $173,000 budgeted for indigent defense. I'm having trouble with indigent tonight. We have some help through the OPD, the Office of Public Defense, and their grant program that would offset these costs by $39,000 each in 2024 and 2025.
All right. Donna, does anyone sign up for public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone like in the audience like to speak on this? All right. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to place the contract for indigent defense services on the December 5th, 2023 action agenda for further consideration.
Second.
Comments or questions from the council?
Anticipated net cost increase.
$47,000
That's it.
is what our anticipated cost increase, yeah.
Right. Any other comments or questions from council? We have a motion and a second to place the contract for indigent defense services on December 5th, 2023 action agenda for further consideration. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. That's because you
I
started.
apologize. Yeah, that's my fault.
You made me second guess myself. All right. We have another item from Mark, a resolution regarding 2024 legislative agenda.
Yes, thank you again, Mayor. So tonight we have a resolution in front of you, 13001123, that establishes the 2024 legislative agenda. As you know, we had a meeting with our 35th district delegation recently, had a nice tour with them around the community and talked about some of the opportunities and needs that we have here that are unique to Shelton. Going into a short session with limited capital funds available, it was fairly clear that most of this legislative agenda will not be acted upon or be able to be acted upon by by our delegation, but it's important to recognize our needs and continue to communicate those with those important decision makers in Olympia. I will point out that there are a couple projects such as the intersection improvements on Wallace Nealon Boulevard that have been an ask in the past, and so those capital asks are continuing. We won't see really much out of the capital, especially the transportation fund. We really want to focus on spending some of the funds that we've received over the past couple of years. We have the $1.8 million Ingleside Boosters pump station and those improvements. We have some ongoing needs, obviously, the homeless and mitigation side, affordable housing initiatives that could be supported throughout our community and the state. The transportation benefit district that is sunsetting in 2026. It's never too late to start discussing that with our state reps to see if there's some solutions there to continuing that. Our infrastructure needs are great, as we talked about through our water and sewer comprehensive plan. So we're continuing to have those discussions and certainly have more robust discussions as we go into the 2025 session. We would also, what we will be applying for, as the state reps said, in the $100,000 range, are probably most likely or more likely to be funded. Potentially some funding for the multimodal path, the old Simpson Railway, and the initial design on that with some funds dedicated at the parks budget. We could get that to at least, we'd probably get that pretty close to full design, and then seek additional grant funds through the RCO or other avenues to maybe get that infrastructure in place in the future. So kind of a kickstart, if you will, and supplement the local funding that we have through the Metropolitan Park District. So if you have any additions, comments on these, happy to take these at this point. We are intent on getting this to our delegation in December, well before their session starts in January. They continuously tell us that that's really a benefit, that if they have it early, they're able to react early and are able to implement rather than receiving it in January after the session starts. And by then it's essentially too late.
Donna, anyone set up public comment?
No, they haven't, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone like to speak? Right. And do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to forward resolution number 1300-1123 to the action agenda on December 5th, 2023 council meeting for further consideration.
Second. Comments or questions from the council? No. All right. We have a motion and a second to forward resolution number 1300-1123 to the action agenda of December 5th for further consideration. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, we now have action agenda. Finance Director Mike Giddens has information for us about updating the fee schedule.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. We're bringing you back the master fee schedule. As a reminder, this sets the fees and rates for fiscal year 2024. We built the budget in anticipation of this. Upon your passage of this tonight, should you do so, these rates and fees will go into effect January 1st. There have been no changes to the resolution since I presented it at your last meeting.
Thank you, Mike. Donna, anyone have a public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone like to speak? All right, maybe I have a reading of resolution number 1294-0923.
Resolution number 1294-0923. A resolution of the city of Shelton, Washington, updating and establishing the city's master fee schedule for fiscal year 2024.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Move to adopt resolution number 1294-0923 is presented.
Second.
All right, comments or questions from the council? All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 1294-0923 as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have another item from Mike, an ordinance relating to B&O taxes.
Thank you. This is the ordinance updating our business and occupation tax. There are no changes since the last presentation, but just to review, this brings the ordinance into line with the current language. It does increase the B&O tax rate. But other than that, there are no changes since I presented it at your last meeting.
Thank you, Mike. Don, anyone set up for public comment?
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
Audience like to speak? All right, I have a reading of ordinance number 2016-1023.
Ordinance number 2016-1023. An ordinance of the city of Shelton, Washington, amending chapter 3.52 of the Shelton Municipal Code related to business and occupation tax.
Thank you, Donna. Do I have a motion?
To adopt ordinance number 2016-1023 is presented.
Second,
Comments or questions from the council? All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 2016-1023 as presented. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are recessing from a regular meeting to open a public hearing. Now Mike has an ordinance regarding the 2024 budget.
Thank you. Again, this represents a lot of work. I know I mentioned it last month in its presentation. I just want to take a moment to thank the department heads, but also a couple of members of the finance staff, Deputy Finance Director Terry Schnitzer, also Grants and Budget Coordinator Don Quisme. He's here in the audience. This is not done just by me. It could not happen without a lot of work from city staff, and I want to thank them. This is just a real accomplishment and a big plan for 2024. I find it really exciting when you look at this document and see all of the projects and efforts that are going to happen in 2024. I think we're entering this fiscal year with a good plan. Again, I want to emphasize that we are basing ongoing expenses and costs on ongoing revenue, and that's such a good plan for our citizens, staff, and the city as a whole. So that's putting us in a good position in the general fund. As you know and have heard in presentations, what this budget does for the water and sewer fund brings those proprietary funds up to a level of really increasing some capacity and being able to do some things for the city that is needed. We're catching up on some really needed maintenance. We have some one-time expenditures that we're very clear about where we're dedicating that one-time money for in the budget. There's just to highlight some of the other things that are in this. There's some modest money set aside for some homelessness response and some advocacy in that area. I do need to point out one change, and that is somewhat related, as I mentioned, when we were talking about the Shelton Metropolitan Park District budget. The 2024 budget in this form has a decrease because in the capital improvement fund budget, we're able to decrease that expense for the two pickups in 2024. So we've paid for it out of the budget this year, and then SMPD, as I mentioned, will pay the city, if you will, back for that in its first quarter expenses. So we wanted to go ahead and make that correction as we brought it to you, since that happened in between the first and second hearing. Other than that, I'll let city manager make any comments he wants, but there are no substantive changes other than that to the budget since its first presentation to you.
I want to reiterate Mike's thanks from our staff and Mike himself. I think that we built a team here that is taking our particular general fund, but all of our funds quite seriously. Realized quickly in April of 2023 of this year that we kind of had to take a closer look and get out the microscope and make some changes here. It was embraced throughout our departments. It wasn't appreciated. It wasn't liked, but it's embraced because it's what we need to do for our community. And we're going to continue to do that. This is a living document. This is a document that changes on a regular basis. You'll see a supplemental budget coming forward again in December that trues up some of the capital funds, particularly when some of these projects change, right? Whether we receive a grant that we didn't anticipate in the original adoption of the budget, or the cost of a project change, or whatever that might be. This is a living document we continually monitor and maintain, and we want to make sure the budget authority comes from the council. And we communicate with the council. We're transparent at all times. So you probably will be seeing a supplemental more than once a year, but also continuing to communicate with our monthly budget reports to hopefully ensure in the council that we are acting in the best interests of the community and being as fiscally as responsible as we can. So if there's any additional information leading up to the approval of the budget or on a monthly basis that we can provide you, we want to make sure that we're able to do that.
All right. Donna, has anyone signed up for public testimony?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone like to talk on our budget?
I just wanted to say thank you to the staff as well for doing more with less and for being brave at this time. We're looking forward. So thanks so much.
Okay. We have a reading of ordinance number 2013-0923.
Ordinance number 2013-0923. An ordinance of the city of Shelton, Washington, adopting the budget for the calendar year 2024.
All right, do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 2013-0923 as presented.
Second.
Comments or questions from the council? Also, thank you and thank staff for everything that they've done for the budget. I know it was tough coming out of last year and balancing 2023 and then moving right on to 2024 and keep that going until what 2030 is what we look at, right? Till 2030. And I know that's an ongoing pain in the neck for you guys, but thank you. All right, any other comments or questions?
Just comment again, echoing thanks for everything. And just, I firmly believe a budget is also a communications tool. And it communicates where we're at in the city, what our priorities are. And again, our budget is reflecting what the community wants, which is we did some belt tightening. We live within our means, do the best we can to manage our resources with the resources we have available. That's the direction you guys have always received from the council, and that's what you execute year over year. We appreciate that. Although we had to make some revenue adjustments this evening. It's not a fun moment, but hopefully that's communicating to the public that you can't have everything you want at the same price all the time. And we need to make these changes from time to time, but in a responsible way. And I appreciate your work on that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Anything else? All right. We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 2013-0923 as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. This public hearing is closed. And our last item for Mike is ordinance regarding ad valorem taxes.
Yes, as I mentioned in the Park District Board meeting, we received certified assessed values from the county assessor. So we're presenting this ordinance to you for consideration tonight to set the regular city property tax levy and EMS emergency medical services levy that we're fortunate that our voters approved for our city. And that's what this is bringing forth to you. It's the 1% increase, and I'm just going to give you, as I did with the SMPD ordinance, what that represents. So for the city property tax levy, that 1% increase is $22,279.97. And again, that increase is spread across all property owners in the city, commercial and residential. The EMS levy represents an $8,880.59 increase, again spread across all property owners, and that money goes directly to Central Mason Fire for to provide that in emergency medical services in the city of Shelton. So just to point that out, that sometimes that 1% can be a little bit elusive, but to put the dollars and cents with it, that's what it represents.
Thank you, Mike. Donna, anyone set up for public testimony?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone in the audience like to speak? All right, we have a reading of ordinance number 2014-0923.
Ordinance number 2014-0923. An ordinance of the city of Shelton, Washington, setting the amount of the annual ad valorem taxes in the city of Shelton for calendar year 2024.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 2014-0923
setting the 2024 ad valorem taxes as presented.
Second. All right, comments or questions from the council? All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 2014-0923, setting the 2024 ad valorem taxes as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. This public hearing is. Not bad. Project managers Aaron Nix has information for us about a contract award for well one pipeline.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor,
Yeah.
Council. Thank you. Thank you for having me up here again. This is kind of old hat for you guys. You know about this project. We want to get out and start spending some of that grant money. So this is again about a $2.1 million project, of which 2 million of it is funded by grants. Actually, it's 2.7. I just want to myself pay compliment to both Brent and Jay. We have these project meetings and they're very intense in the sense that Jay's kind of basically said to us, you guys, let's get the best bang for our buck that we can get for our citizens. So these projects are continuously being honed to see what we can get more of and for the betterment of the community. As an example, on this particular project, as I mentioned to you, we talked a little bit about that casing and pushing that other pipe. Jay saw right at the get-go, look, we got to fill in that voided space. If we don't, then we run the risk of settlement. We're always thinking like that on ways in which we can get the most bang for our buck. It added a little bit of cost, but the product is going to be far superior. So I just want to pay a compliment to them. Brent, he is our guy on the budget because he's just knocked it out of the park as far as running around and trying to make it balance. So he really deserves a lot of credit. Jay, you would agree? Yeah. In any event, council, as I mentioned previous times, we did have the bid opening for this project. The engineer's estimate came in about $1.923 million. We got 4 viable bids. Our low bid is Roglin's Incorporated for $2.040 million. And our hope is that we can get this awarded tomorrow after you guys approve it and get to work. So unless you have any glaring questions, I'm going to be quiet because you probably are tired of listening to me about this project. And there's more coming. So.
Donna, anyone set up public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone like to speak on this? Right. We have a read of resolution number 1295-1023.
Resolution number 1295-1023. A resolution of the Council of the City of Shelton, Washington, authorizing the city manager to approve a public works contract with Roglin's Incorporated for completion of well number 1 pipeline pressurization project.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
I have a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 1295-1023 for the well number 1 pipeline pressurization project as presented.
Second. All right, comments or questions from the council? Yes.
When do you anticipate to break ground? First quarter of 24?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, by the time we get pre-con scheduled and all that stuff, it's middles. Yes, I would suspect that in the first of the year.
Nice.
Yeah, right. Any other comments or questions? All right. We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 1295-1023 for the well 1 pipeline pressurization project as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Next on the agenda, by the way, thank you, Brent, just for all your hard work and Jay and Aaron and your staff. Next on the agenda is a contract amendment from SCADA Services Sewer and Stormwater Superintendent Brent Armstrong has details.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. I bring forward the SCADA Services contract amendment. Nothing has changed since the last reading. And there are no further questions.
All right, Don, anyone have a public comment?
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone in the audience like to speak on the SCADA contract? May I have a reading of resolution number 1298-1023.
Resolution number 1298-1023. A resolution of the Council of the City of Shelton, Washington, approving contract amendment number 7 to the professional services contract for SCADA services with Parametrics Incorporated and granting signature authority for related documents.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt resolution number 1298-1023 for the SCADA contract amendment with Parametrics Incorporated as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Comments or questions from the council? We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 1298-1023 for the SCADA contract amendment for the parametrics as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next action item is the joint mitigation plan. Community Economic Development Director Jay Hill has the details.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be filling in
Oh.
for Mr. Hill tonight.
I just looked up, I didn't see Jay.
Yeah.
All right.
Take care of it.
City Manager Mark Ziegler will have details.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So the city of Shelton is required by federal law to have a hazard mitigation plan. The city has recently partnered with Mason County and other jurisdictions to formulate that plan. This plan, when it's in effect, we would be eligible for pre and post hazard funding, disaster funding when adopted. So there's been no changes since the briefing on let's see, 11/7 looks like November 7th is when this was briefed.
All right, Don, anyone set up for public comment?
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone in the audience have to speak on this? All right, we have a reading of resolution number 1299-1023.
Resolution number 1299-1023. A resolution of the Council of the City of Shelton, Washington, adopting the 2023 Mason County Multi-Jurisdictional Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 1299-1023, adopting the 2023 Mason County Multi-Jurisdictional Multi-Hazard Plan.
Second.
I didn't. Oh, I didn't hear you. Okay. Comments or questions from the council?
For a second.
She asked, that's what I asked. Right? I go.
I didn't hear.
No, all right. We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 1299-1023, adopting the 2023 Mason County Multi-Jurisdictional Multi-Hazard Plan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our last item is a contract for a designated crisis responder. City Manager Mark Ziegler has information for us.
Again, Mr. Mayor, this contract, or these contracts originally briefed on October 17th. We pulled it from the November 7th council action agenda because our attorney was still reviewing a couple of items within the contract. The contract with Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization, there were no changes from that date. So as a reminder, since it's been a few weeks, through the homeless task force meetings back in 2022, one of the recommendations was a designated crisis responder to help with mental health issues in our community. The city received a grant through the Association of Washington Cities late 22 for the first half of 2023. We have a designated crisis responder embedded within our police department that serves our community. When that funding ran out at the end of June in 2023 of this year, Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization notified us of funding that's available. So one of the contracts is with Thurston Mason Behavioral Health to provide the designated crisis responder within the city for the rest of this year. The other contract with the Olympic Health and Recovery Services that is for the crisis responder themselves. So this is essentially a pass-through. Funding comes from Thurston Mason Behavioral Health, comes to the city. We pay Olympic Health and Recovery Services dollar for dollar to continue providing those services through the end of this year. We have every intention, and Thurston Mason Behavioral Health has notified us they have every intention to continue an agreement in 2024 as well when funding is available.
Thank you. Is anyone time for public comment, Donna?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone like to speak?
I'd be curious, maybe somebody could send me an email, maybe Mark, you can. How many people has that DSR touched? Where are we at with that? How much funding has been put out? what kind of positive reinforcement or what kind of positive feedback did we have from that? You know, and is it a viable option? I'd really like to be able to see that and see what, you know, have we made a difference with that? You all know that we have a lot more people coming into town, so do we have one? Do we have two? And then my second one on that is that, I guess I'm just concerned about the length of time. We have a task force meeting in 22, here we're almost 24. You know, I mean, how long does it take to get that action to happen? A lot of negative things happen between point A and point B. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have to speak? All right. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the contract with Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Administrative Services Organization and Olympic Health Recovery Services for a designated crisis responder and authorize the city manager to sign the contracts.
Second.
Thank you. How much are questions from the council?
I kind of wanted to follow up on that too. I was just wondering if we have metrics on that as well, just like what's that, isn't there? Okay.
Yeah, you should get them in your Friday updates. If you're not receiving those, feel free to reach out and I'll make sure that you have those again. Yeah.
Thank you.
I love that.
I appreciate reading those every
Yeah.
Friday. I have heard great, I'm sorry.
DCR Jim's killing.
Yeah. I've heard some great things from our law enforcement and from our fire department that the DCRs, I don't know, if we'll remember back before we had our own, we shared with Thurston County. And we'd have somebody downtown by the clock tower in crisis and by the time somebody would call a DCR, and by the time they got here, that person's sitting down on the bench and the DCR would say, nah, they're fine. See you later, back to Olympia. And that happened probably, you know, a couple times a week. And now we have a DCR that's here in Shelton and able to respond quickly. And I've heard great things from the law enforcement again, also that, you know, they're the only ones that can actually take away somebody's right and put them in, you know, a mental facility.
Involuntary commitment, yeah. And the DCR that's embedded in the police department also provides services up at Mason Health. Works with the sheriff's office as well. So we have a good relationship throughout the community. So we provide services, not just within the city limits, but outside other agencies as well. And the reports out of our police department are outstanding. And they're really thankful to have that resource available to them because it's just not a skill set, right? That they have available to them.
I wanted to add that our last leadership meeting with the county folks, especially with the county law enforcement folks, their number one priority was to have a DCR. And we provided that. So I hope that we could get this new contract in 2024. That's all.
Catching up in dispatch, hearing them on the radio, they're responding on the radio, on law enforcement frequency. They're an unarmed unit, so you can hear the volume of responses that they're going to and how often law enforcement doesn't even need to go. In some certain circumstances, they're able to keep it de-escalated and help people out. It's a tremendous program, and I wish we had more funds to expand on it because it is making an impact, and I know our county partners agree with that, so.
Is there something we can post on the city website that shows the contacts are made and, you know, without?
Yeah, I
names,
don't,
of course.
there's no sensitive data that's been it's distributed out. So yeah, we'll see how best to kind of
That'd be
manipulate
appropriate
that.
to include in the police annual report as well.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah, good idea.
Great idea. Yeah.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the contract for Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Administration Services Organization, Olympic Health and Recovery Services for a designated crisis responder. Then authorize the city manager to sign the contracts. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. We are now at city manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one thing we didn't get to recognize tonight with our new chief and captain is the accreditation process. I think you saw the press release yesterday, right? It's only Tuesday. But it really is a department-wide effort that adds to the department's accountability and best practices in our community. And and gives us opportunities for funding as well. As I mentioned Friday, the chief has applied for a $50,000 grant, no match required for operational purpose for our police department, just by receiving that accreditation. So we'll see opportunities there, as well as ensuring that our community is receiving police services that are at the highest standard as developed through Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. So really appreciate Chief Kostad's work in that. The rest of the department, Captain Patton will be kind of taking the lead in that as that function moving forward, but they kind of spread that out, and something they haven't necessarily done before. They spread it out throughout the department. So there's lots of hands within that process. So that institutional knowledge and that base doesn't leave the department if there's any staffing changes as well. So really appreciate that approach by Chief Kostad.
Sorry, would you mind talking a little bit about their corporal assignments that are changing? and
Yeah.
all- of all the councils?
Yeah, absolutely. So just last week, the civil service testing lost there, went through a corporal testing program. So two corporals will be appointed as kind of leads within our department. So the way the department was staffed, we have sergeants on every shift that are the supervisors, and then officers in charge in case the sergeants aren't available. The officer in charge takes the lead. What we're finding is we have a fairly young department. They're bidding for their shifts right now, and so as you would imagine, the graveyard shift tends to be the lowest ranking or the lowest tenured officers on patrol. So we're having a difficulty in staffing that with seasoned officers that were able to take that leadership role. So one of the options were, as opposed to what we were doing in the past, if a sergeant on the graveyard shift called in sick, we were calling another sergeant on overtime. It was costly, and it's more costly than assigning those corporals, taking away the officer in charge. Those corporals would take on those most difficult shifts. They tend to be kind of mid-range in their career, not necessarily new officers, but not necessarily candidates for sergeant at this point. They take on some more responsibility, build their leadership skills, and we develop some succession planning, as well as we save some money, frankly, on these overnight shifts. So another approach that Captain Kostad has, or Chief Kostad has instituted really soon into his tenure here. And we had six candidates interview for those positions. So it's great that we have staff in the police department that are willing and able to take on that leadership role. The next thing I have tonight, December 5th, before our council meeting, 5 o'clock, we're inviting volunteers and doing the first volunteer recognition, I think, at least citywide, that I can remember in my tenure here. So we have started reaching out to folks that have served on committees, on councils over the last year, have dedicated time to city operations, bring them in, just recognize them for their efforts. We're putting together a kind of a monetary tally of what that means to the city and to our community at the same time. Those that have donated funds as well. So really interested in bring those folks to the table. I think we have Jordan left, but I think we had 14 or 15 RSVPs so far. So I want to invite the council, 5 o'clock, December 5th, out in the main room. Free to thank them, make some comments, shake their hands, and again, recognize them for their work in our community. See, I am working on kind of a new council member handbook or notebook. So that's kind of in process. I want to get to our council members elect prior to the end of the year. Basically, a little bit of 101, council member 101. So if some of you can remember back to the times you started here on the council and what might have been useful information that was provided to you prior to sitting in the seat, I'd be happy to receive that information and be able to include that in the notebook. But that should be complete over the next week or so, and reach out to new council members and provide that information to them. We received the Alta survey, which is higher level survey for the post office park land exchange that has been sent off to US Postal Service for their review prior to moving through the exchange agreement. So I want to make sure that we're meeting all of their requirements before moving forward. So as soon as I hear back that that survey has met their requirements, we'll come back to council with that exchange agreement and kind of wrap up that project that's been hanging out there for some time. We have canceled the study session for next week, the 28th, so a Tuesday off, possibly. And the last thing I want to mention, and we have a little bit of time, but it's quickly approaching the Festival of the Furs and Christmas Town and all the events going around in town. Really excited about the continuation of these events and all the players that are involved with this. There's too many to really list. But it's something that I've been intimately involved with my Kiwanis Club and all the players that have, I think, taken a piece of this and made this a really special time in our community. So I want to recognize that and certainly bring that to the council's attention, community's attention any chance we get, because it really transforms this community into something really neat and special. And John and Rachel sitting back here certainly have their hands all over this, literally, maybe a little blood. That's just that, right? And their whole family as well. So it's a really special time. There's opportunities for others to volunteer within that. I think that I've been on the end of a couple discussions about what was the reverse parade or what was the parade and why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? And you should do it this way. And we welcome those comments, particularly when you're volunteering and you're standing side by side when it's 36 degrees and raining, right? So there's plenty of opportunities out there, and I'd be happy to direct anybody to those opportunities if they want to reach out to me or some others within the community, especially Christmas Town, Kiwanis. So that's all I have for you tonight. I'm happy to address any other issues that you might have.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody have any comments or questions for the city manager? All right, then at this time, members of the public are invited to make public comment on any topic that's not listed on the agenda. Donna, do anyone signed up for public comment tonight?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. We have Dean Jewett.
Good evening. Just want to talk about a plethora of topics. First one is the city app. City app was brought out and supposed to be designed easy to use, easy to report, get your feedback, send out, I mean, there's roads, homeless camps, garbage, there's all kinds of stuff that you can report on that app. Pretty easy to use. It's been disappointing to say the least, when you end up having to wait 14, 15, 16 days to see a resolution and or get a response back on the app that says resolved, but there's nowhere in that app that tells you what the resolution was. What happened? I mean, who was out there? How did it get resolved? I had to send an email and I got a response from our manager, and I definitely appreciate that, Mark. Thank you. But some of the answers that you get back on some of these things that you report aren't the answers that I'd like to see. So when you report a individual in a location that has a camp that's just spread out everywhere, and you find out that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's monitored to distract people from camping there, but then that same person is there over and over and over and over, and the mess hasn't gone anywhere. It just makes you scratch your head and wonder, well, why am I even reporting on the app? And there's been times when it doesn't work. I guess my question is, and a statement, if we're going to use this and it's going to be a tool, because it should be a good tool and a tool should be easy to use the tool as it's designed, follow through with it, be proactive. How many of you all sitting in here app, and how do you get the response back? I mean, you should be able to go into that app and see the response without having to call into the city manager or send an email and have him waste his time sending that back. So maybe I'm running the app wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know, but I know how to run apps. I know IT. So anyway, there's when you use the app, you're trying to basically take some calls away from the 911 center, right? Because you shouldn't be calling 911 for something that's as simple as some of these things that go on there. But when then you get a reply back on it, well, this tent's no longer here. This isn't here anymore. That person moved along. We couldn't find anything. Well, how much time from when it was reported to when it was acted on? You know, I mean, of course that's gonna happen. People are gonna disappear. Well, looks like that's about all the time I have, because 3 minutes is not nearly enough for me. I tell you that right now. Mark, quit smirking. All right, thanks, guys.
Anybody else like to speak? Or anybody sign up?
Yes, we have someone on Zoom. We have Colleen Carmichael.
Good evening, Mayor Nusko, Deputy Mayor Schmidt, and fellow council members. I'm Colleen Carmichael. I'm the Executive Director of Quixote Communities. Just wanted to update you on what all of the agencies are doing as it relates to homeless services. For emergency housing, City Manager Ziegler will coordinate site visits to Longview and Everett, and he's going to provide dates and times for those in December. We're talking with city staff about a list of sites for a proposed mitigation site. Providers also, in an effort to encourage more landlords to provide rental units, met with the Mason County Housing Authority to request a study be done to reassess the fair market value for Mason County. They expressed interest, so we will be speaking with the University of Washington, who did a similar report for Kitsap County, in hopes that we can get the fair market values for Mason County increased and more landlords will be incented to want to rent to our residents. All providers participated in a meeting with Jill Stanton, the Executive Director of Bremerton Housing Authority. She provided sample MOUs for any provider interested in gaining access to housing vouchers. She also provided steps needed to get tenant-based vouchers, which are critically important to all of us who are providing housing. City Manager Ziegler has been talking with his staff about applying for mid-market housing support through Commerce. Grants. City of Everett reported about the success of reducing costs with pallet shelters. The Public Works reported a 66% less resources needed for road street cleanups, and the police reported an 11% reduction in report calls for service. The agencies will work together to write up documents needed for a mitigation site, including rules, cost analysis, success data, and funding sources. And we are all looking for funding opportunities coming in March of 2024 to see that we can work together to submit proposals for funding. Thank you.
You. Anyone else signed up, Donna?
That is all for now.
Anyone in the audience like to speak? Rachel, did you want to talk about some volunteer opportunities coming up for Christmas trees or anything?
I understand they're putting the Christmas trees up on the weekend, so if anybody wants to come help out.
This-
They will help. Yeah,
This weekend?
Yeah.
You know, time they're gonna start?
Probably a third morning and probably around noon would be a good time to come if they like to get the layout started.
There's a handful of stuff that needs to be done with the boardroom, and then once that's started, the massive.
The hardest part is putting the lights on, so if anybody even has a couple hours to come and help put lights on, I'll bring them much else.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Does council have any new items for discussion tonight? No? All right, then. Our next meeting is Tuesday, December 5th at 6 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned at 7:05 p.m.
Recording stopped.